James Dresnok, the U.S.
An American soldier named James Joseph Dresnok was stationed on the demilitarized zone between North and South Korea. One day
Bro, we were watching a lot of British Vsauce lately, and I'm here for it. Like, I kind of like it. I kind of like the British Vsauce vids.
Decided to simply walk over the line to the north. He was defecting, betraying his country, and choosing to start a new life in an enemy land that he knew nothing about. For decades, the United States government tried to sweep this incident under the rug because they were really embarrassed. Likewise, North Korea denied having American defectors living in their country. It wasn't until the 2000s that the truth was revealed to the public. Some say Dresnok was brainwashed into loving North Korea. Others say that he had simply seen the light. So why did Dresnok defect, and exactly what happened to him behind those mysterious borders? Well, in today's Biographics, that's exactly what we're looking into.
Oh my god. This motherfucker is literally the first Korea boo, dude. This guy is the prototype, brother. He literally is the first K-pop stan before it even existed, before K-pop even existed. This man is an icon. Libertarian odds? No, he probably fucking fell in love with like a Korean woman or something. I don't fucking know. To be fair, back then the conditions were reversed. Even though the massive bombing campaign was horrifying, South Korean conditions were pretty fucking bad when he defected to North Korea. In comparison to North Korean conditions, which were still bad, but that dichotomy was like the dichotomy between North and South Korea, with like which side being more industrialized or having access to better amenities. Like North Korea would clear South Korea in the early stages because of a metric ton of support from their communist allies.
Many people say that the United States is the home of the American dream. For many, it truly is a place with opportunities unlike anywhere else in the world, but for others, it's more like a nightmare. James Joseph Dresnok was born on November 24th, 1941, and raised in Richmond, Virginia. His parents, they were poor and constantly fighting with one another over money. One day, Dresnok's mother had enough with her husband, and she decided to escape the relationship. James remembered that she packed his clothes and...
She defected to North Korea, too. She defected to a time where there was family court, but because there was none, she just did what some wives would do. That's the option that you have.
Took him and his brother in the car. They began to drive for hours at a time until it was time to sleep in the back of the car. The family had essentially become homeless. The boys were not attending school, of course, and their mother continued to wander from place to place, earning money by selling herself in the streets. At night, she went drinking in the bars, leaving James and his brother in the car alone. Eventually, her family tracked them down once they had reached Atlanta, Georgia. Their mother lost custody of the children, but James's father, he did not want to be responsible for them at all, so he sent his sons to go live with relatives. James went to live with an aunt, and his brother went to live with an uncle. His aunt made it clear to him that she was annoyed to be forced to take on the responsibility for raising her brother's child, and she wanted him gone as soon as possible. Of course, it was impossible for him to feel welcome in that home, so he ran away all the time. Eventually, his aunt got fed up with James and took him back to his father's house. By the time he returned, his father had already found a second wife. However, James's brother was already home, and his father lied to his new wife, saying that he had only had one son. The revelation that there was now another mouth to feed made his new stepmother very angry, and they got into a heated argument. The next morning, his father drove James to a retirement home a few towns away from where they lived. He claimed that they were going to visit an elderly relative. Once they arrived, his father asked him to wait in the reception area. He went back out to his car, and he never came back. James was now an orphan with nowhere to go. Instead of asking the nurses or the elderly retirees for help, he left the building and stole a $20 bill. Then he found an unattended bicycle, which he stole as well, and he tried to run away. But he was caught by the police, and they claimed that he was a juvenile delinquent, and he was almost sent to a detention center. However, he was ultimately allowed to live at the Overstreet Children's Home in Glen Allen, Virginia, which was run by Pastor C.T. Overstreet, that the kids nicknamed Big Papa. He loved spending time there, and finally felt as though he had been welcomed into a surrogate family. James made friends with some of the other orphans, including a boy named Sonny Jeter, who later described James Dresnok. He had absolutely nothing. He had nothing to call his own except the clothes that were on his back. For children who are born in James Dresnok's situation, there are very few work opportunities. His parents had often kept him out of school for so long when he was young that he had a very hard time catching up to his peers. During an interview years later, he claimed that he was illiterate, though it may have been an exaggeration. He enlisted in the US Army at 17 years old because it was the best chance for him to have any kind of career or learn a life skill. He believed that by joining the army, he would have more freedom to travel the world and have options in a
I literally am so conditioned by YouTubers that I thought he was going to segue that into a Skillshare ad. He had no skills because he had no access to Skillshare. Use the code BritishVsauce for 30% off on your first purchase. Also, the conditions are met. It's ripe for someone, no options whatsoever. He's been absolutely demolished by American capitalism's worst tentacles. No wonder he fucking defected to North Korea.
A career. But unfortunately, what he felt was the exact opposite. The army had strict rules and regulations. They controlled where he would be stationed and for how long. Drill sergeants were yelling at him constantly, and he realized that what he actually wanted was a normal life with a wife and children. He wanted that idea of the perfect American dream and the happy little family that he never got to have as a kid. During short leave from the army, he went back to Virginia. He was now 18 years old and married a young woman that he met at church named Kathleen Ringwood. They had only known each other for a short period of time before the army stationed him in West Germany for 2 years. He was separated from his wife for so long that she cheated on him when he was away. He received
literally, this guy has gone through like every American experience, dude. Jody, like your wife getting fucked by Jody while you're overseas doing some dumb shit for the American military. Like, he is the archetypical American.
a rather cold letter from her in the mail saying that she'd found a new lover and wanted a divorce. During an interview, Dresnok bitterly mentioned the fact that he had had so many opportunities to cheat on Kathleen while he was stationed in Germany, and that most soldiers hired prostitutes. But he remained celibate for over 2 years because he was loyal to her. Dresnok must have felt that all of the images of the happy American families of the 1950s and 1960s was just propaganda. If the American dream existed, he couldn't find it. He returned to Virginia just long enough to file the paperwork for divorce. Without anything keeping him there, he decided to re-enlist in the army for another term. He said, "The time I left Richmond, I was fed up. I didn't want nothing. If I died or lived, I didn't care." The Korean War had been over for more than a decade, and yet the fighting, it had never stopped. There is a 2.5-mile wide, 125-mile long stretch of land between North and South Korea, which is known as the Demilitarized Zone, or the DMZ for short. In 1962, James Dresnok was stationed at the DMZ, and he was shocked at the fact that even in times of peace, he very well may die defending the border. He was incredibly depressed and had lost any hope for a future outside of the army. So he decided to spend all of the money that he earned hiring prostitutes in the South Korean villages and drinking. He was now 20 years old, and his days were an endless cycle of taking orders, doing the bare minimum effort, and letting loose as soon as he could take time off. One night, Dresnok wanted to go and see one of his girlfriends, but his commanding officers would not allow him to leave whenever he felt like it. He was so fed up with having to obey orders all the time that he forged his sergeant's signature on a pass and snuck out to the village at night. The next morning, August 15th, 1962, one of his commanding officers, Captain Thomas Brown, was trying to reprimand him for sneaking out. Dresnok snapped, "You can't touch me. I had a pass." Obviously, Brian wasn't stupid. He already knew that Dresnok had forged the signature. Captain Brian told him to come back to his office at 3 p.m. He planned to file the charge sheets and have him court-martialed. Dresnok felt as if he had absolutely no future, especially since he had absolutely no money to his name and no home to go to. In the distance, North Korea had built a city that they called the Peace Village. They played music and urged South Koreans to defect so that they could enjoy the beautiful communist country. From Dresnok's perspective, it looked far more advanced.
To be fair, like I said, back then, it did look... No, it's not even Bait City. The conditions that they're talking about is like dog shit in South Korea at that point. It's literally a fucking horrifying military dictatorship that is executing anyone that is suspected of being a fucking communist. So if you have like any kind of like trade unionist or, any kind of leftist leanings, you 100% would have been like, fuck, I gotta go there. And plus, remember, you have family members there. I mean, there are still family members in North Korea. Like, this is a country that was like fake. The cutting in half of the Korean country, the Korean nation, is just like a fake thing. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Advanced compared to South Korea. That same day, Dresnok snuck out during lunch break. It was still broad daylight, and he began walking down the road towards North Korea. He knew that there were landmines all around him, but he cared so little about his own life that he was willing to take the risk. Once the Americans noticed that he was leaving, they started to shout after him to come back. He turned around and shot into the air, which scared everyone. They believed that he had gone AWOL and was trying to attack.
That's pretty funny. That, like, the American military members at the DMZ that are like, oh, we could die at any moment, were just scared of gunshots. They were like, oh no, he's shooting a gun. We can't do anything, boys. Like, what the fuck? The fuck is the expectation then? Like, why are you stationed there then, dude? If you can't fucking... That makes no sense. Very un-American? No, it's very American. Remember the Uvalde cops, dude? It says a lot.
Them. He continued walking quickly towards North Korea, and he never looked back. He said, yes, I was afraid, but at the same time, life wasn't so precious. The North Korean soldiers were stationed on their side of the DMZ, and from their perspective, they saw a very tall and powerful-looking white man coming towards them. They were all ordered to take battle stations, and a group of soldiers surrounded him. They pointed their guns and bayonets at him. It was clear from the way that they looked at him that many of them wanted to kill him on the spot. This was the American monster they had been warned about. The squad commander told them all to calm down. They blindfolded him, and they took him back to their base. James Dresnok was interrogated, and he calmly complied to answering all of their questions without resistance. Since he was just a private first class, he did not know anything that the North Koreans themselves didn't already know. The next morning, he awoke to a voice speaking to him in English. Dresnok, Dresnok, I'm Abshir. Still half asleep, James probably thought everything had been a bad dream. He moaned, I don't know an Abshir. The man replied, Larry Allen Abshir. You didn't see me in the newspapers? It turns out that James Dresnok was not the first American soldier who had chosen to defect to North Korea. A young man named Larry Allen Abshir had a similar backstory to James Dresnok, except that he was in trouble because he was caught smoking the wild marijuana that grew on the North Korean border.
Dude. Okay, so far it seems like dudes with the chillest mentality. Bro, Zaza's so good. They got fucking American soldiers doing mutinies.
He got fed up with the rules and decided to cross the border. Another man, Jerry Wayne Parrish, defected a few months later in 1963. North Korea began...
Oh, by the way, for the record, DPRK, weed is still completely legal if I'm not mistaken. Just like a very random fun fact. And also, in the USSR... I think it wasn't necessarily legal, but like in the USSR, there was a lot there. What was it? They would give you, there was even medals for actually not. No, it is. It's not the same. It's the weakest weed you can get. Yeah, bro. I mean, what are you talking about? Yeah, farming hemp in the USSR was what I was thinking of. But, yeah, there are medals for surpassing the hemp growing quota that you can buy on eBay, like the newer versions of that. But the idea that the idea that they don't have access to like our fucking our orange mango gelato flavored fucking weed that just like immediately shoots you into space because they don't have the cutting edge weed science out there is hilarious.
sending paper flyers over the border of the DMZ, offering financial incentives for Americans who brought them weapons and secrets. This is what convinced a man named Sergeant Charles Robert Jenkins. He defected in 1965 and showed up carrying an M14 rifle. He was given an award and a celebration in front of a large crowd. The government tried to use these men as examples that the United States and South Korea must be an awful place to live if these men were willing to flee the country. James began to tell the North American people about the dark history of American slavery and how so many people became homeless despite their hard work. Since he was so willing to participate in their propaganda, the North Koreans...
Bro, this is literally Yeonmi Park, but true. Okay. I mean, it's unironically Yeonmi Park, but also, unlike Yeonmi Park, I mean, I don't know how much he embellished, but there is a lot of truth to what he said.
Asked James Dresnok to speak over the loudspeakers in English. He started to say that if more American soldiers came over to North Korea, they would be treated like kings.
How Americans live.
It wasn't all sunshine. It was very uncomfortable for these men to live as the only white people in the entire country, especially since propaganda had taught them that Americans were evil. The four men could not walk down the street without people staring at them and whispering. They were not allowed to marry any of the North Korean women, and they quickly realized that it would be impossible to have a normal life. Abshir, Parrish, and Jenkins all agreed with Dresnok.
That's not a live leak video, man. Chill out. It's like not even a real video either. I'm pretty sure it's a fake video from like a comedy sketch or something where like Americans eat pigeon and live on the streets.
That it was time to plan an escape. In 1966, all four of the men decided that it was time to leave. They visited the Soviet embassy in Pyongyang, asking for asylum so that they could be transferred to live in the USSR. Dresnok said, "We thought because they were white people too, they would accept. But the Russians didn't treat us good. They notified the Korean government, and the men were taken back into custody." According to Dresnok, the Koreans did not punish them for trying to leave. In fact, they felt guilty that they had made the four men feel so unwelcome and decided it was time to try harder to educate them on how to speak Korean.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. Bro, they are literally, this story is incredible because like by every awful metric, because normally when you talk about North Korea, it's like desolate hellhole, shithole, wasteland, worst place ever. Sucks, right? You can't spin this story in a negative. Like, they're trying, even if you tried to spin this story as a negative, it literally still comes across like, oh, these guys were just so awesome. Like, they were so welcoming. Until, I'm sure there's a part here that is going to be bad. But they're like, come on, please, we'll teach you Korean. Like, don't worry.
And the ways of their culture. Compared to how he was treated for his mistake in the US Army, he felt very grateful for their mercy and their understanding. Keep in mind that at this time, Kim Il-sung was actually making more economic progress in North Korea compared to the South. Back in South Korea, most people were still living in extreme poverty and working as farmers.
Okay, this is awesome. Wait. Oh, he immediately went. I mean, that part of which was like cool. I was not expecting any Western person to admit that. This is true. I'm excited that like he's speaking on this truthfully.
Pyongyang had skyscrapers, a sports stadium, and plenty of smiling, happy people. Seeing this spectacular city was proof that communism really just may be the better choice compared to capitalism. Without any contact with the outside world, these men would have no way of knowing that the United States had been able to go to the moon or any of the other accomplishments that were going on in their home country. The men were told that it was in the best interest of everyone if they lived separately from average North Korean people. They had minders who would come to ask every day if they needed anything, like personal servants that would go to the supermarkets and retrieve anything that they might need. If they wanted to go anywhere, they would be chauffeured directly to these places. The four men lived every day like it was an extended vacation. They would read novels, go for a swim in the river, smoke cigarettes, drink, gamble, and tell one another stories about life back in America. To James Dresnok, it was everything he ever wanted. This was his definition of freedom. He felt as though he was being treated like a king. But to Sergeant Charles Jenkins, he felt like a prisoner who had failed his first attempt at escape.
The North Korean live leak video, which is 3 minutes long, includes a reference to the Sandy Hook shooting, was uploaded to a German YouTube account that features many videos from North Korean state media. Yeah, that's not. It's not. I don't think it's real. I don't think the reality in. I don't think the reality in America, a video made by North Korea, is actually made by North Korea. I'm pretty sure it's a satire video. I, for the longest time, thought it was actually a real video, but I'm pretty sure it's satire.
Escape, and the mission was not complete.
The Earth is 70% water and 30% land, but the entire sky belongs to us. Fucking bombs dropping on a desert area. Congratulations, HasanAbi. I'll be joining the U.S. Air Force thanks to your ad fetish. I mean, dude, go ahead. I mean, I'm sure they would love to have an absolute fucking idiot like you who saw an Air Force ad and was like, "That's right, baby, I'm joining it." Like, that's quite literally a self-selected group of fucking dumbasses. You know what I mean? Like, as though I'm serving the ads. You know what I mean?
Since Jenkins was the highest-ranking officer among them,
Oh, the video is real. The dub is incorrect. Oh, interesting. Okay, that's good to know.
he began acting like their leader. He tried to tell the three younger men what they should do and what they shouldn't. According to Dresnok, this made the other two men happy. They were used to being given orders in the army, and they probably felt some comfort to have an older man telling them that they would continue planning their escape. But Dresnok, he didn't like being bossed around. He got into a fistfight with Jenkins and punched him until he fell on the ground. After this incident, the other men started to isolate themselves from Dresnok. In 1972, the four men were fluent enough in speaking Korean to have full North Korean citizenship. They were allowed to leave their compounds and have their own apartments, food rations, and transportation. The leader's son, Kim Jong-il, had not taken his father.
I like that the notion is that when North Korea builds a border town that quite literally is there to welcome defectors from South Korea, that's a negative thing. But also simultaneously, when America builds border prisons that are quite literally concentration camps in order to purge and enslave everyone that dare step foot inside of the United States government's territory, then that's also bad. It's like one is, you can't have both at the same time, okay? You need to understand, like, you're like, oh, they're really sneaky with the bait town. It's like, no, man, they just straight up, it's not a bad thing. That was a straight up good thing that they were doing that, okay? Concentration camps, question mark? Yes, immigration detention centers are still concentration camps.
Father's place as the new dictator. Even though such things were forbidden to the average citizen, Il indulged.
Brain raw Hasan, North Korean takes? Okay. No. North Korea now, with respect to South Korea, is not the same. North Korea post-collapse of the USSR is a very different North Korea than North Korea in the aftermath of the Korean War. Even Binging with Babish admitted this. I mean, and he's, I believe, a liberal. You know what I mean? Please, ... says TV trope. No, what I am saying currently is historically accurate information. In spite of like the United States and the Allied forces absolutely eviscerating North Korean industry, given all the help that they got in Reconstruction. Oh, I meant please reacting to your Babish comment. I mean, he's British Babish. British with Babish.
In Hollywood movies, and it was his dream to become a film director. Of course, if you're the son of the dictator, you can do whatever you want. Kim Jong-il needed someone to play the villains, and that's where the American men came in. In 1978, all four of the men starred in a 20-part drama called Unsung Heroes. James Dresnok played a character named Arthur. Kim Jong-il explained to his people that in order to portray a villain effectively, an actor needs to have a lot of patriotism for their country. After hearing this, North Korean people stopped thinking of these American defectors as the enemy and began to see them as national heroes. Now when he went out in public, people began to address him as Arthur, and they happily gave him free food and drinks and gifts. In the 1980s, he began to teach English classes at the University of Pyongyang. Most of the information they had struggled in from the outside world about advances in science technology were written in English, so Dresnok's help was actually vital to their translations. One evening, James Dresnok went to a restaurant and spotted a beautiful...
Like, that part is lib shit. Like, even now, North Korea still has access. The average North Korean might not have access to, like, the internet or whatever, but North Korean, the state, absolutely does. And I don't know why people make it seem as though... I don't know. I don't know why, like, they make it seem like the University of Pyongyang had no other access to, like, research through the USSR. And that, like, this was the only method. It was in English. Yeah, they hired translators from China and the USSR. Now, how do you explain the USB drive bullshit? No, that's exactly the point. Exactly. They always say, like, oh, we have Operation USB drives. And then they're like, but no one has access to a computer because they eat fucking mud. And it's like, okay, how does that work then? Like, they'll be like, North Koreans, they execute you for DVDs. And then in the same breath, they'll be like, and here are the movies that they watched. I'm like, well, which is it? Like, USBs and DVDs weren't a thing in 1970s. We're not talking about 1970s. We're talking about North Korea now. Anyway. The University of Pyongyang most definitely had tremendous support of the USSR and their scientific advantages, but critical support had waned significantly by the 80s. What British Vsauce is saying is plausible. Yeah, I was thinking that as well. I guess at that point, it's like they're struggling.
Beautiful brunette woman named Doina Bambea. She was the first European woman he'd seen in years, so he began to talk to her. He didn't waste any time asking her out on a date. She agreed, and they ended up getting married and having 2 children. It was later revealed that Doina Bambea may have actually been kidnapped by the North Korean government and that she was planted in this restaurant with the intentions of setting them up together. However, James Dresnok claimed that she was there by choice. Even years later, in 2014, her brother, Gabriel Bambea, demanded answers at the UN Human Rights Council. Her family was never allowed to communicate with her, so they never knew if she was kidnapped or if she chose to defect. She died of lung cancer before she could ever see her loved ones again. Larry Allen Abshir married a Thai woman named Anoka Panjoy. She began working as a massage therapist in Bangkok. Her roommates say that one day she'd left the apartment to get her hair done at the beauty parlor and never came back. Panjoy's friends and family never knew that she had been kidnapped and was living in North Korea. Larry Abshir died in 1983 from a heart attack at 40 years old. During the 1990s, Kim Jong-il became dictator, and there was a huge famine in North Korea known as the Arduous March. No one is sure how many people died during this time, but some estimate that it is in the millions. The 4 American men were celebrities now and considered members of the elite class, so they never had to give up their food rations or suffer like the lower class people. James and Doina's 2 sons, Theodore and James, grew up and attended the foreign language college in Pyongyang. During his interview with the BBC, Dresnok said that if he had stayed in the United States, he knows that he could never have afforded to send his children to college, and he had absolutely no regrets for defecting. Not long after the death of his first wife, James Dresnok went back to that same restaurant and met his 3rd wife. Her father was a diplomat from the Tongolese Republic.
It's really cool that, like, after... I mean, during that famine, I'm sure the Western nations all got together and were like, hey guys, it's pretty bad. It's pretty cruel and unusual punishment in the form of, like, collective punishment for an entire nation to be punished for our crimes against said nation. So, like, maybe we should help them now that they're, going through a tremendous famine, right? Or at least ease trade restrictions, right? Right? They sent grain, right? I'm sure. They surely must have sent food supply. Surely. That's what America does. That's the greatest nation on earth.
Republic and had got a Korean woman pregnant. As a mixed-race woman, she was seen as
Bro, by the way, for the record, you said pro, my children get to go to college. Con, they kidnapped my wife for me. You think that guy thinks that's a con? He thinks that's double pro. That dude is like, pro, they kidnapped my wife for me. Also, kind of good, not as good. Pro, I was able to, send my children to university.
Desirable for Korean men to marry, so James Dresnok married her, and they had a child together.
Like this is a dude living in the fucking, living in the 70s. Like, most marriages were basically under a similar structure, even in America. You know what I mean? Yeah, he got a state. Yeah, a lot of people come into this chat and go, hey, you claimed there was a state-mandated girlfriend. And when the state actually gives you a state-mandated girlfriend, you guys start acting different, dude. What's up? Yeah. What year is when women were allowed to have their own credit cards, like, across the board? I'm not talking about, like, a couple unique individuals who were, like, landladies or something. I'm talking, like, straight up. Yeah, it was like 1970s, bro.
James Wayne Parrish married a woman named Sihanouk Shritar from Lebanon, and he eventually passed away. She was still alive to give her testimony during a BBC documentary. According to her, she came to North Korea as a tourist, fell in love with Parrish, got pregnant, and decided to stay. Shritar says that she was never kidnapped and is happy living in North Korea. Parrish died in 1998 when he was 54 years old. James Dresnok and Charles Jenkins were the only two American defectors left from their original group. Even after all of those years, the two were still at odds. Dresnok loved life in North Korea, and Jenkins still felt very much like a prisoner. In 1980, Jenkins was 40 years old, and he met a 21-year-old Japanese woman named Hitoma Soga. She was not afraid to bluntly tell him that she had been kidnapped and wanted to go home. Jenkins and Soga bonded over their homesickness, and they fell in love and got married. They lived in an apartment next door to an...
Okay, wait, hold up. I love chatters going problematic age gap. Bro, she was kidnapped. Yo, Zoomers are so brain broken, dude. It reminds me of that fucking Oppenheimer biopic criticism that I saw where they were like, why is Cillian Murphy portrayed side by side with a woman 20 years younger than him? Like, someone was trying to do a problematic age gap discourse on Oppenheimer, dude. It's like, talk about fucking losing sight of the forest on account of the goddamn trees. No, that's not a meme. What I'm talking about is not a meme. What I'm talking about, unironically, is some, like, WGA Writers Guild on strike lady who fucking said that. She said it. She wrote that. She wrote that shit for real. They were like, oh, a problematic age gap between two actors. Zoomers be like, I can excuse the state-mandated kidnapping and sex slavery, but I draw the line at problematic age gaps.
Panjoy. The two kidnapped women became very close friends, and the three of them all secretly grieved for their home countries. Panjoy was eventually able to escape after marrying an East German diplomat, and the North Korean government agreed to let her go. In 2002, the North Korean government gave mercy to Hitoma Soga and several other Japanese women who had been kidnapped and allowed them to go back to Japan to visit their family. They were supposed to return, but...
Interesting. North Korea was like, hello, Japan? I don't know if you know this, but have you ever heard of a thing called comfort women? Like, they're like, sure, we'll give you back like the 8 Japanese women that we stole from you.
Obviously, they never went back. In 2004, the Japanese government was able to help reunite Charles Jenkins with Hitomi Soga. He and his 2 daughters were finally able to escape and move to Japan. Once he was free, Charles Jenkins wrote an autobiography called To Tell the Truth. In his book, Jenkins claims that the North Korean government turned James Dresnok into their muscle, and that he beat him bloody on at least 30 different occasions. They also cut off the skin of all his US Army tattoos without using anesthetic. Even Dresnok admitted to the tattoo part of the story, revealing his scars during
Typical grift, baby. Let's go. I love that, dude. Immediately, dude, book it and then write a book about the horrifying nature of the North Korean crimes. And then even admit that they were fibs and lies later on. It doesn't matter because people want to believe it, so they'll believe it.
A documentary saying that everyone volunteered to have them removed. Charles Jenkins also claimed that the government wanted all of them to give birth to foreign children who were loyal to North Korea so that they could become spies. James Dresnok continued to deny all of Jenkins' claims, saying that he was simply playing up the situation in order to sell his book. His 2 sons, Theodore and James, are now full-grown men, and they have taken their father's place, playing American villains in North Korean films. He died in 2016. At 74 years old.
Look how drippy.
President George W. Bush was asked to make a decision on what to do about Charles Jenkins' defection in the 1960s. After hearing the whole story, Bush decided that Jenkins would serve just 30 days in prison and his rank was demoted to private. He was granted Japanese citizenship in 2008. Despite the fact that they were manipulated into being together, he and Hitomi truly did love one another because they stayed together for the rest of his life. Charles Jenkins died in 2017. At 77 years old. Unfortunately, we may never know the whole truth about what happened behind closed doors. Do you think James Dresnok was brainwashed by the North Koreans, or is this a situation where 2 people truly could have a vastly different view of an almost identical situation?
Damn, he got the defect, then get Japanese citizenship? Yeah. If I get a Japanese citizenship out of this, I'm defecting to North Korea too, bro. This was literally like a... This straight up seems like an ad. This is like QVC for me. You know what I mean? Like if I get a Japanese citizenship out of this too, it's like that's incredible. Hasan live streaming in North Korea when? Always.